Well, since the beginning of the Bealtaine project, looking after this old cottage and planting out 3 acres of woodland and some garden, I have made sure that anything that's been built or added on to the cottage has been done in wood. And yesterday I started to paint the east side of the barn. And you can see from the colour here that I've used that it's a rather unusual blue, yeah. So this blue is one that I've mixed myself, and I'll show you that in a minute. I think I'm having a bit of a love affair with blue, yeah. Or maybe it's just the paints that have been left in the barn. But either way, all this woodwork is going to be painted. So these are the paints that I'm using. They're all garden paints. They're very old tins, incredibly rusty lids. Yeah. But I'm just mixing it all up and getting the colours that are, fairly suitable. You can see here where I put some blue in with what was a kind of a grey. So it's now turning to a nice green. Well, sort of a nice green. Anyway, let me show you the tin that I'm using at the moment. So this is the colour. Now this has got a little bit more blue in it than the grey I've just shown you. So what I'm doing, so it doesn't all look a mess, is I'm painting the boards with the colour that I've mixed. Now some of this is drying, so it doesn't show up. Let me just stand back a wee bit. So yeah, you can see now the bottom boards, I'm going to fill that little tin up again, so it'll be a different shade no doubt. And I'm going to work the bottom boards in whatever colour that's going to be. And round the windows I'm going to do the same. You can see where it's all drying off now. Just the end here I've got to do. So yeah, that's how I do it. And I've really got to put some putty around these old windows. See these old windows? I picked 4 of them up on a skip in London before I came over here in 2004. And these are Georgian windows. Now they're not clean enough to be able to show. Let me just see if I can get a... Okay, you can't see the bubbles in them, but every so often you'll see a little bubble in the glass. And this is where it's hand-blown glass, which they would have done during the Georgian era, right up, I think, until the beginning of the Victorian era. Yeah, so that was about 1840, I think, when Victoria came to the throne, or 1850. Or it could have been 1860. I know she died in 1901. So yeah. There's been the most incredible full moon recently. Of course, the moon now is beginning to wane a little bit. But it seems to have heralded an early autumn because there's mist around the cottage every morning. If I get up early enough, that is. Well, what I found fascinating was the other night I went out and I took some photographs. I'll post them on here, just when I've told you. I took some photographs of the sky, and it was a mackerel sky. Now the kind of sort of long waves of cloud in the sky that looks very much like a mackerel skin. And then I realised the moon, the full moon, was a sturgeon moon. So how about this then? A sturgeon moon in a mackerel sky. So this is something that I've written about over on my website. I mean, going back as far as 2010, 2011. All the blogs are there on the website if you care to read them. But I've been fascinated with the transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. And I find this particular event, the sturgeon moon in a mackerel sky, I mean, it's fish, isn't it? Very much the sign of the fish. And I think that we're actually beginning to pass now properly into the age of Aquarius. I know it was going to be somewhere around I think the exact date was 2030 or 2038. But I think time is speeding up, and there appears to be this incredible pouring of water as a sort of libation. Like, have you noticed how everything seems to be coming out into the fore? We're beginning to see things that have been kept from us. So it is quite an amazing time, and that's why I just thought about the whole Pisces, the fish, the age of the fish, the age of Pisces. Of course, the age of Aquarius is very much about water, like a tsunami of water that cleanses. So when people say to me, "Oh, Claire, are you not depressed about everything that's going on in the world?" Well, of course I am. But I'm also very optimistic. It looks as though people can no longer hide. And I'm talking particularly here in the West, of course, on all different levels. There's been, over the past 10, 15, 20, 21 years since I've been here, there's been a lot of things have come out. We're beginning to see. How interesting is that? The fact that I can see the mist here in the morning is testimony to the storm Aowen that came through with such destructive forces in it. And yet, it has opened up Bealtaine, it has opened up the land, it has allowed the mist to come in, the light to come in, and I think it looks more beautiful than what it ever looked. I find that quite magical, because storms, they seem to have an energy like a whole life of their own, and that life came through Bealtaine and breathed new life into it. I think that's amazing. Now, I have always worked with earth energies. From the day that I dowsed for the spring well down in the Fairywood, for every tree that I planted, for all the incredible magic that has just erupted here, I have always tried to work with earth energies because they're very real. They're very real. People think that they live in isolation from everything. Not one bit of it. We live with nature. We live with Mother Earth. And I'm sure you've noticed over recent years this incredible delving into our connection with everything, including the other world. I mean, it's actually become an interest for scientists and quantum physicists as they explore human consciousness and the way in which we are connected with human consciousness together. Yeah, it's an incredible time to be living through, because so much of what people have felt in their guts to be real is now an interest well, it's almost become like a mantra for quantum physicists as they talk about how human consciousness seems to affect everything. Well, this is something that I've always believed in anyway, that we can manifest, that the human mind is incredibly powerful, and it's not what's inside our head, it's what connects us through consciousness. So, anyway, that's a very deep dive, which I'm not going to go into just at the moment. I will actually do a video on this at some point. I'm still trying to understand it all. And in understanding it all, I begin to realise that this is the reason why I love to work physically. I love this kind of physical work because as I work, I'm thinking, I'm letting my mind flow in all kinds of directions, and it's wonderful. So finally, the door has been hung on the barn. Up until this point, it was just standing there. I used to have to physically move it in and out in order to get into the barn. My young friend came up and did most of the hard graft for me. And yeah, it's very rustic. It's been framed in a very rustic way, but it's finally hung. And so I'll be getting down to painting that. Come on. This is one of the reasons why, or perhaps the main reason why, I never throw away half-empty pots of paint. I keep them because I know that eventually I will use them, or I'll find a use for them, I'll find something to paint. But painting is a wonderfully, let me think, rejuvenating thing to do, because as you paint, you know that you're not just breathing new life into something, you're giving it a new colour, but you're also protecting it. And it's something that, from what I can understand from talking with other people, not a lot of people do now, because they are inclined to buy, like, this boarding that I have on the side of the barn here. They're inclined to buy a sort of a plastic type boarding that never needs painting. But there is something beautiful in wood because it grows. It breathes life into the area in which it grows. Even the Sitka spruce does that to a small extent, but it still does that. And then it can be harvested, because I work on the basis that everything in nature is a harvest of one kind or another. And harvest for something, not necessarily, just for human beings. But wood is something which is incredibly beautiful. I love working with wood. Finally got the door hung on the barn, and now it's just a case of painting it. So I've put on the first coat. This is again one of my mixes. It's a garden paint, so it's sort of meant for the garden outdoors. And I've mixed up, grey and some blue, and I think a tiny bit of pink as well was in there. But anyway, my own colour. What shall I call it? Mystic Garden or something. I should be one of these people, who sits in an office working for a big paint company, just thinking up names for the paints. Not. Oh, time for a cuppa. I think I deserve one now. The Kelly kettle boils the water almost as fast as the electric kettle. And the difference is, the Kelly kettle costs nothing at all. Zero, zilch. Yeah. And there we go. Almost ready. It's been lit for about a minute and a half. This is my little pile of twigs, and that's my cardboard and my lighter. And you know who is keeping a really good eye on that, because she reckons that fox might just want to steal it. Yeah. Now, before I forget, there's a lovely lady called Joyce. And yeah, Petra contacted me recently to get a book, one of my books for Joyce for her birthday. And Joyce, I know it's your birthday on Saturday, which is tomorrow. And I wanted to wish you many happy returns and have a wonderful day and a wonderful year ahead. Another spin around the sun. How marvellous. Blessings to you. And I'm almost coming to the end of this painting, and if you hold on for a short while, you'll see both the door and the side of the barn and how they look after I've finished. And as I've been working on this painting job, and no doubt there'll be lots more painting over the weekend because I'll find other things to paint, but I've been thinking about my Monday rant, and there's quite a few thoughts have gone through my head. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope you're enjoying my Monday rant, because it does clear the air for the week ahead. This is what I find. It sort of allows you to be shriven of all the things that upset you or worry you or just are of interest and need to be put out there. Yeah. So here it is finished. I haven't done the very top boards there, but I may do them later. They're fairly well protected, so they don't actually need to have any water resistant paint on them. So I used a lot of the white that I showed you earlier. I mixed that in. It's not quite white, it's more of a nice sort of a slightly bluey white. I'll show you. There we go. So I think that's quite a nice contrast. It's also practical as well, because at night this area is lit up a little bit with those little battery lamps, but it just gives a nice even sort of guide, you know, when you're walking along this path, you're moving this. I have discovered that by putting plants up against here, it hasn't been very sensible, because it's caused some moss to grow. And you know, when the rain hits the plants, there's a little bit of earth sort of sprays out, and it encourages moss. So I'm going to keep this area clear. Yeah. Cue the beautiful music. What does this remind you of? It reminds me of that beautiful ending, Pride and Prejudice. You know, the one with Kira and Matthew playing Elizabeth. Come on, Pat. And Mr. Darcy, as they walked across that beautiful misty meadow and the morning light shining in. It was just ethereal. It was gorgeous. So this is what's happened here at Bealtaine Cottage because of Storm Éowyn. It's opened up some of the outer bits of the land, so the sunlight comes through in this magical, magical way. So I've put the second coat of paint on the door, and I've dressed it with that little beautiful little heart that I had hanging up at the sitting room. There we go, it's finished. And you're probably wondering what's in that pot there. That is Eau de Cologne mint, so that when you brush past it, you get this beautiful scent. So I'll leave you with these shots of my recent work, and look forward to Monday. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monday already. I'm nurturing all kinds of thoughts in my head. You can find a list of the books that I have written underneath this video and in the comment section. And I'm quite happy to inscribe books with any messages. And they are printed here in Ireland and posted from here. Blessings to you all and have a wonderful weekend. See you Monday.